Alright, this is a video on checking the deck height for this here Sportster. It applies to any engine really, but this is what I have apart right now. So, got my piston stuck in there. Now I've already checked these with and without the gaskets, and gaskets, I'm just using an already compressed gasket, which is the old one, which measures 20 thousandths. It's a standard Cometic steel-based gasket. And then I'm just going to slide my cylinder back down over the top here. If I can get in here and move some of this shit out of the way. And I need to secure the cylinder down, keep it from moving, rocking back and forth. Now, you don't need to bolt this thing down on all 4 bolts. You can if you want to. I don't. I'm just using a couple of spacers here to secure the cylinder, because you won't get a correct reading if you just try and do it without the cylinder at least bolted down somewhat. Now on this type of Sportster, the head actually doesn't have a shelf in it, so we're not really concerned about the piston hitting the head, because it's nowhere near close enough to hit it. And you don't need to really torque these down, and just snug them a little bit. And all you're looking for is how far up the piston goes, which I need to grab a damn wrench. All right, let's see how close we can get this. Now, a better way to do this is use a deck bridge, but I don't have a deck bridge anymore. So let me see if I can get this thing closer in so you can see it better. Move, cat. If you stick your finger across here while you're kind of turning it, you'll feel how much room you got there. So, deck bridge is better because you're using dial indicator off flat surface, so you'll know. And I don't have rings in here, so you're going to feel a rock in there. So when you're checking this, you want to do them right at the edge of the 90 degrees at the wrist pin, as flat down as you can get it. And then I'm just going to rock it through there. Let's see what we got. Damn, can't see shit. So, as you can see, I got about 10 thousandths. The piston's 10 thousandths below the top of the cylinder there. That's using a 20 thousandths base gasket. So what I got is I got a set of 5 thousandths thick Comedic copper base gaskets, meaning our piston is now going to be well, math, right? Let's do some math. If we're taking 15 thousandths off the base gasket, that's going to make the piston sit up over the top of the cylinder about 5 thousandths, roughly. Not as important on this head because, like I said, these heads don't have a shelf in it. Let me show you what I mean here. Hold on. Meaning that our cylinder head here is round. It actually matches the cylinder. On like a big twin or even 883s, they have a shelf out here. So if the piston comes up and the piston's too far over the cylinder, it'll hit it has a possibility of hitting the head or being too close. Now, as a general rule of thumb, on a shelf type head, you want your quench area to be 30 to 50 thousandths. I usually set them about 40, 35, 40, as close as I can get them. Anything over 50 thousandths and the quench isn't really working. So you're losing power if it's too far. That's pretty prominent in some heads. Over the years, I pulled apart and, there's no quench whatsoever. I did a 400 Ford block one time, and it was, the piston was it was like 1/8 inch under the top of the block there. So, they didn't know when they were making that engine, 400s, so they didn't know. Now, you think that it goes the exact opposite of what you think. You think that, well, it's less compression, so it's going to be less prone to detonating. Actually, no, it doesn't. If you keep the quench under 50 thousandths, from 30 to 50 thousandths, that actually helps get rid of any detonation prone problems you might have. So let me show you this head even further. I'm going to stick this cylinder on here. Now, normally what you do on, I don't have any here, but normally on some of these things, you'd have I'd use Dykem to be able to lay it out and scribe a line in there, but you see it's not really that close in there. You can see a little bit, but it's not enough to make a difference. The head ain't going to hit that. You got, and I'm not done with these heads yet anyway. I still got to port them, and they'll be fine. But you get what I mean there. Anyway, that's checking that, and I'll do another video on actually doing a compression ratio here, figuring it out with the head gasket, the piston dome volume, and cylinder volume, all that at a later date. I'm not doing it today, but within the next probably week or so. Anyway, any subscribers, thanks for subscribing, thanks for watching. Even people that aren't subscribed or hit the notification bell, whatever. Appreciate you watching. Guys, have a fabulous weekend. Take care. Now, doing these videos, it might seem like that's a lot of measuring, a lot of work to do, but I'm not modifying this thing a whole lot, so every little bit helps. I've had guys do engines, and they buy whatever bolt-on stuff, and they just throw it on there, and it makes a number that they might be happy with. Until you go in there and start measuring and figuring stuff out that isn't quite right, then you can give them more power. That's all it is. You could think of it like fine blueprinting, which is what this is. It's just measuring, modifying as need be, without spending a whole lot of cash to do it. The reason I say that is there are certain bikes that over the years would come through, and you'd take a bike out and you do a setup on it and take it out and ride it, and you're like, man, this one particular bike runs really damn good, way better than it should. And it's just luck of the draw. If you have manufacturing tolerances, the cylinders are a little bit shorter, valve job's a little bit better, timing's a little bit more on spec, carburetion's a little better, whatever. The head castings are a little bit different in the ports or whatever. Sometimes you luck out and you get a winner. And when I say that, I mean I'm talking about, in particular, I had a guy that bought a 94 1200 Sportster. And without any work, I remember doing the setup on it and taking the bike out and riding it. Trying to break it in a little bit and do a shakedown run on it because it had 0 miles on it. Take it out and ride it. And it felt really, really good for being a bone stock exhaust, stock carburation, stock air cleaner, just bone stock bike. It ran really good. Bikes like that, you might take them and ride them a little bit, put them on the dyno, break them in on the dyno maybe, and make a few pulls on it just to see. Or when the guy's got 500 miles on it and brings it back in for his first service, and then you put it on the dyno and you just run it up and, you make some pulls on it before you do the service to get some heat in the motor. And you got a stock 1200 putting out, damn near 70 horsepower at the rear wheel. That's stock everything, or 65 or whatever it was. It was a lot more than the regular 1200 Sportster. But same thing with big twins or, cars, lawnmowers, anything. They're all slightly different, even though they should all be the same, but, you got manufacturing tolerances that are different. I had an 883 race bike that, at first maybe made like 52, 53 horsepower with a pipe and a jet kit. So nothing really. And at first they said you couldn't modify anything. You had to use stock cylinders, stock heads, everything, stock valve springs, stock valves. So you did all that stuff. I mean, stock. It's spec class racing, so you can't really do anything to them. And then you go out racing in a spec class, and man, there's guys out there, bikes are flying a hell of a lot faster than yours. And you swear they're cheating. And they may have been, they may not have been, you don't know. But come to find out, your cylinder height, if you take this cylinder versus that cylinder versus another cylinder, they might not all be exactly the same length. So of course you're going to use the shortest cylinder that's going to give you the closest deck height. Anyway, more to the point, the next year in that series, they came out in the rule book and said that, pistons may not, you have a plus or minus 10 thousandths on the cylinders. Meaning, if you wanted to, you could cut 10 thousandths off the base or use shorter base gaskets or whatever. You get where the piston sticks up 10 thousandths over the top of the cylinder there. You know, and that next year too, they came out with a, this is a 1200 valve, but these stock Harley valves are two-piece valve. They're actually welded right there, kinetic welded or whatever when they make them. But, you know, after a year racing it, or even not even a year, even a bunch of races, the head of the valve right here, the face of the valve will start to deform a lot because you're using stock valve springs, stock cams, and you get some pretty good damn dents in there. So they came out with a specialty one-piece stainless valve that you could put in there that was legal for that class of racing. Then it helps from having to go in and do a valve job every so often, or every, you know, basically every month. But, you know, little things like that make a difference as far as longevity and the difference between getting something to, you know, putting all this money and effort into building this big motor that has, you spend a lot of money on, and some guy that spent, you know, half the money blows you away. That's kind of the whole point of blueprinting. You want to optimize everything you can. And that's it for me. It's time for me to go get some lunch. Anyway, you guys take care. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. All that. Take care.